In 3, 2, 1, play.
As bugs. So, this is going to be a very strange experience for me because I haven't watched this show in many years, and this is going to be the first episode I rewatch. Because it's a great episode. This was one of my picks, but it's very different.
The big reason this isn't a show that I need revived or I need more seasons of is because not only does this have a proper series finale, like there aren't really many dangling plot threads, but we already have this episode, which is midway through season 4 or on max 3, and it's like it's their own epilogue episode of however far the show goes. Like we already have a built-in series finale because that's essentially what this is. It is an epilogue for this take in this story.
I remember this episode confused the fuck out of me. Like, why are we skipping ahead?
It's very jarring the first time you watch it.
I don't necessarily need a revival of this show, but if you ask me this or animated series, at this point I would pick this. Just because
if it was between those two, sure.
I have no interest in a animated series revival. I'm not really interested in a revival
I'd be more
of this
open to
either,
this.
just because I don't know what that would look like. But
I think you could probably pick up and just do a Justice League show based on what they were setting up in the last season.
I'm kind of sad we never got that.
I mean, I'd be way more open to this, but theoretically, you could fill in the gaps between where the show left off and this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right; like this is technically the series finale for the show.
I think this is also by this point we've changed the theme. And
yes,
it's really trying to be that the '60s theme.
Yep,
I like it.
I like it.
The first theme is so much better.
Yeah, the first theme's fine, but it's not. This is more of like a theme song. That's just kind of like, I don't know, vague instrumentals.
So I love the animated series.
No, because that. I don't know.
That's a lot more orchestral. I get what he's saying. That's a lot more orchestral. The
first theme for the show is just like a few chords over and over again. That's what I'm trying to say.
Written by Greg Weisman.
Yep.
I didn't know who that was when I watched this originally.
I prefer the first theme. I just love the atmosphere and the more somber kind of better.
This is nothing like the '60s show.
Well,
it's kind of like a fun action show, though. Like, it's not a campy thing like the '60s show.
This theme fits better on the episodes when like Batgirl or Robin are the focus, because there is kind of a tonal shift once those characters come in. Like the vibe does change, but I still like it.
After season 2, if you're going by like the traditional structure, they do kind of pivot to we're just a Batman show now.
More traditional.
And it's unfortunate in some ways because you drop some really cool plot threads. Like Yin just disappears.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I don't think they bring back their Clayface ever again.
They do once, and it's a very good episode.
Yeah, because this has one of the best Clayfaces. I'm just gonna say it.
Gotham City 2027. We're almost there.
No, this is a few years later. Oh no.
Okay, so this is what really confused me the first time I watched this. I probably mentioned this on a previous episode on our channel. This was my first ever like hint or experience with anything Dark Knight Returns. So seeing this giant old bulky Batman was super weird for me when I was a kid. Because this is the first time I ever saw anything of that aesthetic.
Funnily enough, now that I think about it, this would have also been my first experience with that material.
But now in hindsight, I think it's awesome.
No, yeah. I mean, I never hated this episode. Its biggest issue is just their Mr. Freeze sucks.
I like him. He's very one note, but
he is very one note. That's my issue with him. But he's played by Clancy Brown, so
yeah, and he's great.
I like the voice that Reno is doing for this older Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has quite the good like Bruce Wayne Batman voice.
Yeah, he's got a good distinction.
But what I think is neat about this episode with Freeze, though, is it's a nice contrast to our Mr. Freeze episode in Batman Beyond, where that's a lot more of a character piece and is a lot, slower and more dramatic. Here, it's just more of a cool action thing of like, yeah, here's
I mean, that's
a
this
huge
entire show
version
compared to the
of
animated
Freeze, yeah.
series.
And I can't remember. Was that one of the ones we watched on the stream?
I don't think we got to that one.
Okay,
That'll be for next time.
Because I legit can't remember a lot of what we watched.
I don't remember.
I know you don't remember, but I also don't remember.
It's kind of crazy how well the Dark Knight Returns kind of translates to this art style.
Yeah.
Oh, he said the thing.
Oh, he said the thing. Oh my god.
And it's really cool though that it's not just doing Dark Knight Returns for an episode. Like it mixes in a few different things. Like Mr. Freeze isn't in Dark Knight Returns, and you also get Oracle. You also get Nightwing. It's for one tiny 22-minute episode. It's really cool how much stuff they're able to work
really,
in.
So far, they're just
epilogue.
taking like the Batmobile and the fact that he's old.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks like the bulky Frank Miller Batman too.
I'm glad they went with Oracle because we didn't get that in. Obviously, we never get that in animated series because
that's true.
Tim has we don't get that in with Barbara.
We don't get that really in the main show except for this episode.
Yeah, but it's cool that we got it.
Yeah. And I think all the action in the show is super well done.
Oh yeah, as an action show, it's top notch.
Which, I like the more sophisticated Batman stories, but sometimes you just need to watch Batman beat up a criminal for 20 minutes.
Well, I'll say that is probably the strongest element of the show that it has over the animated series is that as a pure just action show, it is a really well-made and entertaining show.
And I don't want anyone to confuse what I'm saying is there are some episodes of this that I do think are pretty sophisticated. There's one on our list where where Joker decides Batman is the Joker now and he's Batman. And I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, there's some gems in this show.
I tried to pick like the best of the best, like all of my favorites from memory when I made my half of the list.
Its biggest issue with villains, especially in the back half, is just there's so many Joker and Penguin episodes. Do you think people's kind of Joker burnout, for those that have it, maybe start here because he's all over the place in the show?
Maybe.
Probably. I never thought about that.
I don't know how the casting worked or like how the jobs worked for these voice actors compared to animated series. Or animated series, I believe everyone was just like paid and for whatever episode they did, like one episode at a time. Here, I want to say like Tom Kenny and then who's Penguin and Kevin Michael Richardson as Joker. Like I want to say like they had a yearly contract with the show, though I could be completely wrong on that, but it would explain why they're in so many episodes every season. That's just something I've always assumed is like they're probably contracted to have multiple episodes because if they feel like actual regulars and not just, oh, we're doing like this one villain this week. You know what I mean? Like I could be wrong.
And the interesting thing with this Batman is he's kind of the opposite of animated series Batman, who's always a loner. This is Batman that learns to be a team player.
Yeah. Well, animated series Batman definitely has his moments as a team player, but usually reluctant.
Well, that's not what I mean, though. This is a Batman that willingly forms a team and like wants to be a part of a team.
This is a Batman that could retire.
Yeah, this has a much more positive.
I mean, I think this episode proves you wrong, but okay.
Yeah,
I said could, not will.
And I acknowledge this is entirely nostalgia, and I don't want this version of Freeze and other things, but him having actual freeze powers and not just using a gun and just his design with the ice helmet, like I've always thought it was just really cool.
It works for like, this more heightened, like
yeah.
Their Nightwing design is also great.
Pretty good.
It's basically just Nightwing. Nothing, no real differences.
Doesn't have the mullet though.
Good.
Yeah, so it's good. So it's one of the best Nightwings. It's better
Well,
than
funnily
the
enough,
animated series one.
because the only reason that Robin can be in the show is Teen Titans had ended at this point, but that show
Yes.
also does a Nightwing episode,
Correct.
and their Nightwing design isn't as good.
I agree. That's not the best Nightwing look. But part of what's interesting about this episode, beyond just being a fun romp, like, oh look, here's these characters, 20 years in the future. We also get this wraparound story of like 100 or 1,000 years in the future, where people are like rediscovering the Batcave and trying to figure out this legend, this myth of the Batman, and we get to see like what they're right about, what they're wrong about. Like it's what elevates this episode for me from just being a cool epilogue to like, oh, there's actually some meat here. Like
There's stuff
there's some
going on
interesting
here.
things. Yeah.
Exactly.
And there's that added tension, at least if you're a kid, of like, oh, is this how Batman dies? Like, is this gonna go really dark?
Commissioner Yen.
Feels like it could go there. Yes. I was gonna mention
they-
that when you're talking about Yen earlier, how she disappears from the show, but we do get a little bit of closure with her, with at least that one line of like, oh, she comes back and becomes commissioner at some point. Like that's cool. That's a nice reference. You were saying, Torgo?
I think I was just gonna say you were wrong, John.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because
what?
Yin's mentioned in this episode.
Oh, but this is out of continuity,
We don't see her.
and you don't see her.
Yeah, I know.
Get out of here.
I'm just
you
messing around.
bastard.
Okay. All right, I'll leave.
No, and I like the whole like Nightwing. I liked that Nightwing's like, maybe it's time to pass the torch, and Batman's like, no, I'll do it when the mission's over.
Hmm.
If DC had played their cards right, I'll say it. This could have been the next DCAU.
Maybe.
They were building to that, yeah.
Well, because
I
you
would've
set up
been
all
down
the
with
key
that.
players,
Yeah.
give them, maybe a pilot season to see how it goes. A Superman show in this art style would have been great. I mean, hell, look at My Adventures of Superman.
Oh.
That's just a more
I
anime
actually-
version of this art style.
I
Yeah,
actually
it's
think that these sensibilities I probably would like more with Superman than I don't hate them with Batman, but it's not exactly my preference.
I don't know. I mean,
so I don't know. I'd love to
And I
see
just
their
want a
Superman.
Green Arrow show. Like, I don't care how I
Sure.
get it.
Yeah.
Just give me a Green Arrow show.
They could have made a great Green Arrow show because they have that episode later with him.
Yeah, and I really like some of the team up stuff in that last season. And the 2-parter with Superman, it's a classic Batman Superman story.
yeah, which is why it's called the Batman Superman story.
It's the Batman Superman's.
And isn't that what they called the DVD of the World's Finest 3-parter from Superman? Or is that the Batman Superman movie?
I think it's Batman
That's the
Superman
Batman
the
Superman
movie.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So slightly different titles.
That's a commentary we got to do at some point.
Completely
Yeah, sure.
different title.
Because that is like the definitive Batman Superman story.
Oh no,
Although
Mr.
we'd probably
Freeze is
do
gonna
them-
kill Batman.
We'd probably do them as episodes because I don't know how available the movie version is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever put the movie in HD.
They're
Which is a
so
crime.
weird about that. They'll put out
Yeah.
like 4 copies of Mask of the Phantasm in the last like 2 years.
Yeah. Well,
Put
to be
HD
fair, 'cause
versions of all their shows out. Well, at least their big ones.
Yeah.
But yet we still don't have a Blu-ray for the Batman versus Dracula,
Mhm.
or the World's Finest movie.
Yeah. Well, the short answer for that is if they do a lot for Mask of the Phantasm because it's Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it just baffles
the
me. Why
other
would you
movies-
throw a Blu-ray of the one movie for this show in the Blu-ray collection for this show?
Yeah, I'm so upset about that. It's why
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
don't-
bought the Blu-ray yet.
That's why I kind of
Well, what-
hesitated to pull the plug on it, but I want it. I do want
I
it.
wanted to. When they take the show off of Max, that's when I'll pull the trigger. Go, okay, I guess I'll buy that show.
Yeah, go ahead.
Watch at
do
that point, it'll be out of print.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, well, what annoys me about the Batman set, even though I don't really like the movie, it probably should include Mystery of the Batwoman, but it just doesn't for some
Oh,
reason.
I thought you were about to tell us you didn't like the Batman versus Dracula.
No. I mean, for Batman the Animated Series, they have Phantasm and Sub-Zero, but not
Mystery of the Batwoman.
Batwoman.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And once again,
But
we
now-
have a Dark Knight Rises story where I doubt the fact that Alfred is alive.
Although this Alfred in the main timeline doesn't really look that old, so I can kind of buy it.
Well,
But-
it's 20 years past the present day of this show.
I don't know if you guys know this,
So-
but their Gordon, I believe, is Mitch Pileggi,
Okay.
who was on like the X-Files, Supernatural.
Oh, nice.
He's
He's like
probably
this
been
Gordon.
in something you've seen.
Maybe.
How do you guys feel about the Batwave?
It's weird. I like it as an idea, but when you think about it, it's like, wait, but how does it know?
It makes sense if the simple explanation is, oh, it's just him tapping into like the radio for
Yeah.
like police
Police
notifications,
scans.
like
Yeah.
police scanners. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what it is. But it can kind of just do whatever in this show.
Yeah.
And it
It's
feels
just like,
very
oh,
Twilight.
a crime is happening right now. Like, okay.
Yeah, it feels like you need to buy a toy that has that light up screen.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, I got the Batwave toy. Like, it feels like that's what it's designed for. But it's also their
That's part of-
stand-in for the Bat Signal before that comes in.
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to use Gordon at first.
Yeah.
So
Which
it's kind of a workaround
baffles
there.
me.
How's
I don't,
Yeah,
that?
think, I don't even
whole,
think it. I think it even didn't. I think it turned out really well, despite that. But it's just
I agree.
like, why would you greenlight a Batman show and then not let them use Gordon?
Well,
Yeah.
it's the whole bat embargo thing where they couldn't use certain characters, which I don't. There's certain ones I don't fully understand. I don't know enough about that whole thing.
Well, the two arguments for it. One was, well, we don't want certain characters to be overexposed and diluted, and I understand that one to a point. But the other one is, well, but if people see Ra's al Ghul in the movie and he's not the same as Ra's al Ghul in the cartoon, then kids are going to be confused and not watch it. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
it's just a dumb argument that they make.
kids are not thinking about that
I
at
just
all.
realized that this Mr. Freeze, at least in the future, has like no legs.
Correct. It's kind of a Beyond homage.
I like that
TMB
human
homage.
moment.
I like
yeah,
the
I'm
red
like, oh, no.
skies.
He just had like a Willem Dafoe Green Goblin moment where he's like, oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's baffling about the show. It's part of the reason it exists is because we know a new Batman movie is in the works coming out, so we got to make a cartoon
Yeah.
to tie into that. But we don't actually want to. And again, I'm glad this isn't canon with the movie. But then to say, well, we can't use Scarecrow because Scarecrow's in the movie and it'll confuse people. It's like, just what? It's so weird.
Yeah, that's a lot worse than what they did with the animated series, where they were just like, make them look like the villains
Oh,
in that
worries.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a better approach.
Which makes it awkward, or just
that's
makes
still
it hilarious
awkward,
with
but-
how inconsistent they were. You can't have two
Yeah.
Scarecrows, but we can have two Supermen at once.
Yeah,
Yep,
it doesn't make
That's
any
correct.
sense.
Yeah, the only exception they made for obviously was Joker because it's the Joker, and then they overcompensate because, like you said, he's in so many
He's
episodes.
in everything. Yeah,
Which, like I said, we'll see what episodes we get to tonight, but that doesn't fully bother me because one thing that I really like about the show that it does kind of differently from most of animated series is what this show does past the first season is tons of team up episodes. So yeah, you get Joker and Penguin a lot, but they're at least usually paired with another villain. So that's why stuff doesn't bother me as much because you do get a lot of cool, interesting villains in this show, in my opinion, who do pop up a few times.
This is where I
So-
discovered where I first learned of Clue Master.
That's true,
yeah.
and
I
that's
think,
the
yeah,
one.
This is probably the first time I heard of Cute Clue Master too. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's very different from the comic, but something.
it's something.
Yeah, it's funny because season one has Clue Master, and then season 2 is Riddler, and then we always just use
Yeah.
Riddler after that because we don't need to bring.
Who
Clue
cares
Master back.
about Clue Master?
But that is the
They should-
trade-off with the bat embargo, though, is like we at least got some interesting, weird characters like that in the show.
And we got
that's at least
Robert
something.
Englund Riddler.
Yeah.
If only he
He's
didn't
great.
look weird.
We'll get to it potentially.
I wish they would at least bring Romano back to do something.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's retired. Like he doesn't have a lot of credits recently. But again, that's one of the things with Mr. Freeze I think is interesting this episode, how he's a villain who's capable of like hiding out in a place like, okay, screw it. I'm gonna go to sleep for like 100 years so that there's no Batman for me to deal with when I wake up. But so it's obviously convenient that works out for him, but it's still a neat idea that you have a villain who's capable of doing that. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna peace out until this Batman's gone and can stop bothering me.
He was just in Yakuza Like a Dragon and the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I forgot he had a credit.
Okay.
That's up.
I don't know who the hell he played, but
I think he's one of the family members. Yeah, I think he's one of the family members of Mario. I forgot about that.
Needless to say, that movie didn't stick with me.
I thought it was okay.
It was fine. Oh my god, there's 4 of them.
There's 5 of them.
5 Batman, a new graphic novel by Jeff Johns.
The sequel to 3
no.
Jokers, 5 Batman.
So this is a neat idea how people are going to keep the legacy of Batman going, well into the future. Yeah. And so the big statue.
They even give him a statue like in Dark Knight Rises.
The other thing that's weird with them doing the Returns Batman is the Batman doesn't have that big ass chin.
Yeah, now he has it.
Now he has it for some reason.
It's
He had
aged.
plastic surgery.
Well, that was season 3, episode 7. If you're going by the max numbering, Artifacts. If you're watching this after the fact in the pre-recorded video, because we will be uploading these separately, consider hitting that subscribe button and throwing us a thumbs up. And we will see you guys next time.